Whoa! Didn't see you there. Do you know what time it is? It's time to talk about a dead game franchise, Advance Wars. There's no consequence to this at all.
If you've ever wanted a Fire Emblem game with all of the strategy and none of the anime, well fuck you, take the slightly less anime Fire Emblem. Advance Wars. Advance Wars at its core is a turn-based strategy game where instead of having pre-deployed units, the player builds new units. Like a drug addiction. I've always loved this series. Something about it is just so charming. Maybe it's the character designs, the musical notes, or maybe it's just the bullshit AI! I absolutely love playing the games, and I feel as though it is some of the most underappreciated games ever. I mean, who wouldn't love games where you get to start wars and kill everyone? Advance Wars also had a final game release in 2008, meaning this franchise has not had a new release in 13 years.
That's older than me when I was 12!
Well, I think this series had some rocky starts, namely Famicom Wars and Game Boy Wars. Every game since then has been a blast. Hell, even though Super Famicom Wars is completely in a language out of characters from an East Asian country known for their animations of giant death robots and the murder of Nanking, I think this game is also extremely fun, but for different reasons, for another time.
Today, I'm going to be talking about Advance Wars, released on the Game Boy Advance. Who would have seen that coming?
This game was the first Nintendo Wars game in the franchise to be released outside of Japan, developed by Intelligent Systems. It's also one of the reasons why Fire Emblem, a franchise also developed by Intelligent Systems, was released in North America and PAL areas, and Advance Wars even released 5 months before PAL release, and a whopping 3 years before Japan. Why did it take so long? Well, Advance Wars was unfortunately released on September 10th, 2001, and if you know anything about the release date of Super Mario Maker, you'd see the immediate problem.
Oh boy, I can't wait for 9/11!
So while little Jimmy over here is having a blast shooting bullets into people's heads in the campaign, Terrorism. That obviously drove the release of Advance Wars in other countries back due to not wanting to publish a game about war immediately after a national tragedy occurred, which is a major part to Advance Wars' demise. But speaking of campaigns, this game has one! When you first open up the game, you get this sweet little intro which has some battle animations and all the characters, and then you get thrown onto the title screen. Can we just take a moment to look at this title screen? I mean, you have the 3 main characters and commanding officers of Orange Star and the quote-unquote main antagonist Olaf in the background in a parachute. Also, the woman's holding a rocket launcher, and that's how you know this ain't your grandma's turn-based strategy game. Once you get past that, you get the opportunity to punch in your name, and then Nell, the lead commanding officer of Orange Star, tells you about the different things you can do in this game, and that field training is where you want to go.
But screw that, I just want to jump straight into the campaign.
Oh, you can't. Not to worry, because this game allows you to skip most of the field training and jump right into the campaign. Why don't more games do this?
Padding.
But field training does have important lore and interesting missions, so why don't we skim through it? Nell teaches you how to play, going from basic movements to strategies and unit placements. You get a handle on literally every single unit during this process, and you also net some sweet, sweet dopamine.
Refreshing.
It's also revealed here who you're going to face, which is Olaf, who you're going to ally with, and backgrounds to the cast, like how Olaf used to be a part of Orange Star. Overall, this is a solid tutorial run where you just play and learn. And during most of the field training missions, you get to do things yourself. Once you complete that, you can hop into the campaign, and this is a solid campaign. 33 total missions, 3 different playable characters for most of these missions, a wide variety of enemies to face, and replayability for days! This campaign isn't without problems, though. There are a few gripes I have. Certain missions can only be unlocked through difficult or extremely specific manners, such as Olaf's Sea Strike only being able to be unlocked through choosing Andy in Max Strikes, and then destroying all enemy units in Olaf's Navy, when you're outnumbered 3-1. There's also the problem that people have that you can only play as 3 COs throughout most of the campaign, and 1 CO of the 3 is extraordinarily broken. I don't know how it got past playtesting. Although, if you want to play this casually, then there is still even more fun to be had with Advance Wars' campaign. Each and every mission has multiple ways of completion. You can choose from 3 COs per mission if you enjoy challenge or don't like buff dudes, and then on top of that, you get the ability to choose between destroying all enemy units or capturing the HQ. And then certain missions have you survive for a set amount of time or capture a set amount of properties. There is so much variety in this campaign! And then the missions themselves! In some missions, you're just handed a mountain of troops and they're told to go attack the enemy. Sometimes you don't get many units, but you can build more units. Other times, Fog of War sets in and you play the game completely different. Did I mention that you could build units? Building units in and of itself provides so much more strategy to the game, where unlike Fire Emblem where you have a set amount of units you can place down and you want to keep them alive as much as possible, in Advance Wars you can build a bunch of tanks, blow them out, get them destroyed, and then build more units. But not only that, you can build recons for cheaper and target out infantry, or go long range and use artillery. You have so many goddamn options, it's insane! Being able to produce units adds another level of depth to the game, and I think it gets swept under the rug a lot.
But that's enough of using money that could be used for our workers for a useless medium tank just because we don't like Santa. Let's go back to the campaign.
You fight 7 other COs throughout the campaign, which is the rest of the cast other than Nell, and get a feel for every other CO just by fighting them. You get to know their personalities, skills, and their tactics enough so that in the final mission, when you get to play as 2 of the COs you once fought, you can use them more effectively. Also, for some reason, a lot of character development happens in this cast. It's not a bad thing, but I just thought I'd mention it. Now that I think about it, I forgot to tell you who you get to play as during the campaign. Here. Whoops. Sorry, I forgot about these 2. Andy is your typical boy wonder who wields giant wrenches for some reason. Max is your strong, bulky man who will punch anyone in the face just because he couldn't make out with Nell. And Sami is the special ops character who holds a machine gun because why not? Obviously the best character only because she has a gun.
Speaking of Max, let's talk game balance.
It doesn't exist. Let's take Andy for example. He has no weaknesses, which means he doesn't have a firepower or defense decrease, indirect range decrease, or more expensive units. But he also has no strengths, which means he has no firepower increase, no specific units he's good at, or any indirect range increase, which makes him a good CO to start out with, which makes it equally good that you start with him. His CO power, which is an ability that COs can use after enough damage has been taken or dealt as a one-day tide turner, heals all units by 2 HP, or 1/5 their max HP. This is a fairly decent CO power that has the ability to really turn the tables, and that makes Andy a pretty okay CO, and around where I think most COs should be balanced. Not too weak, not too strong.
Why do I hear the sound of a tank getting closer? Oh, heck!
Max is undoubtedly a contender for the best CO in the game. He gets a 50% base increase on his direct combat units, a 10% firepower and defense decrease on indirects, as well as a slight range decrease. That sounds unbalanced, right? It gets worse. There are only 4 units that can attack from range, and only 1 is used in general play. And Max gets a bonus to all but 2 direct attacking units, those of which are infantry and mechs, foot soldiers. This can't get any worse, right? Raw! His CO power increases his attack power to 175%, and then he gets more movement range on his units, and then he negates the firepower and defense decreases to indirects. He is broken!
The worst part, you could play this guy in almost every mission in the campaign.
What's also bad is that you can play him in War Room. What's War Room, you ask? It's a collection of old and new maps that you play against an AI and get high scores on. This is one of my favorite ways to play Advance Wars, playing maps against the AI using different COs or strategies to win difficult maps. The best part is that you have bases on all of them, and there are no pre-deployed maps, allowing for even more strategy. But you can still play as Max, 0 to 10! This is probably the only time I'll ever complain about this, but you can only play as 10 different COs, and the variety is meh. Some COs are generally much worse, and none of them are too unique. The only one who I would say is the most unique is Convoy, where he gets a 20% deployment cost increase in exchange for 20% increased attack and defense. A lot of the ways to win some of the harder War Room maps is through abusing the AI, and the campaign also has this problem. There is a way to play this game against other players though. You can play against 3 different players in fact. This is definitely the thing that one-ups Fire Emblem the most, since Fire Emblem is almost completely single-player. You just hook up a link cable to your... oh, god damn it. Yeah, the Wii U did port this game onto itself using the Virtual Console, but it is certainly not the optimal way to play. At least you could play this game on one system using Versus Mode, if you have friends. I don't have friends. I've only ever used Versus Mode once. Although I think the fact that I haven't used Versus Mode all that much states how much fun the single-player endeavors are. They really do give endless hours of fun. You can even create your own maps if you want to mess around with that. Even then, you can see so many differences between this game and Fire Emblem. It's almost surprising that they were developed by the same developers. Fire Emblem's setting is more medieval and fantasy, while Advance Wars' setting is more modern. Advance Wars has dynamic damage, where you deal damage depending on your HP count. A 5 HP tank will deal less damage than a 10 HP one. Fire Emblem has none of that. Fire Emblem is much more centered around the plot, and Advance Wars focuses way less on that and more on side modes. They both have bullshit AI! The music is music that I would listen to every day. Nell's theme, Andy's theme, Sami's theme, Drake's theme. They're all great and fit their style immensely. In fact, the general art style is so bubbly and fun, and I love looking at and hearing it. Everything about this game is great, from gameplay to art to, okay, the plot isn't great. Andy can come off as idiotic, Max can be a general asshole, and Olaf and Eagle can really be a prick and an asshole. Although I do love each character equally. Except Grit, I love Grit. I especially love the little details in this game. Each unit looks different depending on their team, the in-battle portraits react to what is going on, which only ever happens in Super Famicom Wars outside of this game, and the fact that 2 of the COs in this game have guns.
It's just all really cool, man.
Overall, I absolutely love this game. The campaign is really fun despite its flaws, due to the interesting concepts and immediate jump into action from having a skippable tutorial, War Room's ability to play any CO and fight a wide variety of other maps, the overall gameplay being so great and fun, and I honestly way prefer it to Fire Emblem, and I especially love the I don't have friends mode.
It's sad that the series will never see the light of day again because Nintendo has canned the series for 13 whole years, and what the heck is that?